Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. It's fantastic to have you here because I am on day 2 of a very ridiculous task, and that task is making a knife with no power tools. We're going to be using just hand hammers, files, basic hand tools to make this thing. And the whole reason behind it is I want to learn a lot. I like learning. Learning is great, and this is going to be a great education that I give myself here. But that's a little bit of a hard way of going about learning things, which is why I'm very pleased that Skillshare is sponsoring today's video, because they're going to be giving the first 700 of you guys to hit the link in the description 2 months of their Skillshare membership. Usually it's just $10 a month, but 2 months of their Skillshare membership for just 99 cents. You can access all of their 19,000 courses in videography, photography, business marketing, all of that good stuff. So make sure you hit the link in the description at the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring it. Let's get right to it. First thoughts there, I've taken the rough scale off. So the scale is obviously very hard, and since we're using files especially, I'm going to be damaging them if I'm touching a lot of scale with some of my nicer, sharper files. So I'm saving the sharper files for the bulk of the stock removal, which we're about to start on now. And I use this, which I've probably been using this for a year, so it's very worn out. I used this to get through the scale, and it really wasn't as difficult as I thought it might be to get through that scale, so we're ready to start using a nicer file. The fun thing about doing this with files is I am going to have to think my way through this project to save as much work as possible. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to square off our bolster area. We got the big boy file. This is a big bastard cut file, and I'm going to take some nice long strokes, and hopefully we can square this up and start building reference surfaces to work off of. This thing cuts unbelievably well. Oh my goodness. I think we're going to be all right. Turn it around. Come in from the other side. Now I'm going to take a second cut file. I'm going to try and clean it up, clean up the surface finish. So why on earth would I take on such a ridiculous idea like using only files to make a knife? Well, historically, this is how it would have been done. You know, this is the old school way of doing it, and I think that I'm going to learn a lot from going back to basics and hitting the basics and getting a little bit of competence with the basics will probably translate to a lot more competence when it comes to using all the fancy machinery I have. In addition to that, one of my new favorite podcasts is called The Mark of the Maker. It's a bladesmithing podcast, and some extraordinarily talented bladesmiths and even a blade collector host the show, and they talk about the craft, and it's very entertaining and extremely educational. And one of the things one of the hosts said, kind of rather in passing there, was, oh, every knife maker should have to make a knife with a file. And I thought, yeah, that probably makes sense. I certainly think with blacksmithing, start with the basics. You don't go straight to a power hammer. Well, we think about knife making, and how did I start with knife making? I went straight to a belt grinder, straight to a milling machine, straight to these high-tech tools that very much risk becoming a crutch and impinging on the proper development of my knowledge. Now, I know I said basic tools and all, and this is just a granite plate. You don't really need this. You could use a countertop or even just, your normal workbench. Just something that's relatively flat will probably be helpful. I just want to see if that reference surface that I created is roughly in line with our center as it is. I don't want to go making a reference surface and working off it, only to find down the line that actually it's a pretty terrible place to have a reference surface. Okay. So I'm going to adjust that reference surface by taking off some more material here. That'll cant the blade downwards just a little bit. And so once that reference surface is pretty good, we're going to start building off of that, making another reference surface, and then starting to file the blade to that reference surface. Make sure that everything's nice, neat, square, and pretty. Welcome to the 7-hour mark. What are my opinions on hand filing at this stage? Well, I think they might have changed a little from the first 20 minutes or so. It takes a long time, and it's very easy to mess. It's very easy to mess it up. Because though the stock removal rate is relatively low, it's extraordinarily easy in a file stroke to slip and do some damage that you really don't want to have done. It doesn't cut very fast, but on a slip, you still get a pretty deep cut. Another thing that I've been having a little bit of an issue with is assuming, oh, see, look at that slip. Assuming it's not cutting fast, and therefore going too far, further than I would like in places. Filing too much and causing some damage that way. I actually ended up doing that on this bolster. You see, it's not central yet. My plan was to work off, in fact, it was that side of the bolster, get that neat and then work off everything. But I made some serious mistakes, and miscalculated, and ended up taking way too much off this side, which means that my bolster area is going to be thinner than I'd like. I'm sure it's going to end up fine and is going to be comfortable, but it's not what I had in mind. I made some colossal mistakes in how I calculated how much I should be taking off from each side. And so this is certainly a pretty humbling experience to see just how many mistakes I made. Other than that, I think this is going to be turning out pretty well. What I'm now doing is I'm working on this transition here between our bolster and our blade, trying to square that away and get it neat and nice. We're going to have this angled forwards here, which should look rather nice. And the only round files I have that cut decently well are these 6mm chainsaw files. So the radius is a little smaller than I'd like, but what I've done is I've gone ahead and ground a safe bottom on here. Aha! Well, isn't that just a funny way, an utter coincidence of a way to go into talking about ClickSpring.
G'day, Chris here, and welcome back to ClickSpring.
And his fantastic filing tutorial, and that being one of the other extreme motivators for me to want to try this. As you've heard me say in past videos, I'm not very good at filing. I need a lot of practice to get better. And oh my goodness, would you believe it? ClickSpring then uploads a video not a week later that is a filing tutorial. I found it extremely useful. I've been trying to apply the tips here. I'm sad to say it's not completely stopped me from making mistakes, but it stopped me from making a lot more mistakes than I've made. So thank you, ClickSpring, for making that video, because not only did it give me extra impetus to try this project, which I know I'm going to learn a lot from, and I've already learned a lot from, it was very helpful and very educational. Make sure you guys go check it out. I'll make sure there's a link in the description. We've been making progress here with this little safety file, little safety chainsaw file. You see they're not perfectly lined up. So we're going to the good old blue Dicom. I'm almost running out. We'll put some on. And we'll put a square up to it and give her a scribe. We'll also do the same on the other side. Whoa. Okie dokie. A few more strokes. Okay. Nope, not enough. Okay, there we go. That's much nicer. Sweet. What next? I wish I knew. So I just went to scribe my edge, and you see it looks great from this side here. But look at that. This blade is twisted. Or rather, these reference surfaces I made weren't square to the global flatness of the blade itself, which is a problem, because look how bent that'll look if we do follow these reference surfaces. So this just, again, is showing how filing is seriously difficult, because I thought I was on the mark, but I am way off. That's way out of square. And this isn't very flat. That's got a big old convex in it. So, more elbow grease needed. Okie dokie, we got it sorted. It's now time to re-establish this flat. This one side, it needs, I don't know, maybe 5/10 thousandths extra removed than the other side. So I'm just gonna gently do that, hopefully keep it flat, work it down, and then we can start working on the bevels. That was the bastard cut. This is a second cut. Notice those safe edges I'd ground on this second cut also. Thank you, ClickSpring. See that mark right in there where there's still the Dicom visible? I must have had my safe edge not in the right orientation with my chainsaw file, because I cut down deep, which means that to get that mark out of there, I've got to remove all this material off of the flat, and that's the only way to make that work. After all, that really wasn't so bad. Stock removal rates really aren't as fast as I'd like, but I was able to do a lot of what it was that I wanted to do with just the file. And the best thing is that I'm learning a lot. I'm learning how to plan my way around the project, to remove material from where first as opposed to another place, making lots of mistakes, but the education is really, really exciting, which is why it's so good that Skillshare is sponsoring this video, because, okay, do they have courses in hand filing? No, they don't. But what they do have courses in are a lot of other skills that, if you're wanting to start your own business, you're wanting to start a little bit of a hobby that may end up becoming a business in the future, having skills in photography, having skills in videography, these are things that can all help mean that you produce good social media content that people want to see. That's why my pick for the Skillshare course that I'm recommending for you guys is Tyson Wheatley's phone photography course, to help make sure that you can take great Instagram photos with only just your phone. The cameras on these things are really amazing, and there is a lot that you can do with just a phone, and I hope that course helps you take better pictures to better show off the work that it is that you do, and build a following and build a lot of people that want to see the things that you do. Of course, Skillshare has over 19,000 courses. Their premium membership starts at just $10 a month, but if you're one of the first 700 to click the link in the description below, you can get a whole 2 months of it for only 99 cents. It's an incredible deal to be able to access that much information for 99 cents, and then on from there, $10 a month. The platform's jam-packed full of online courses. I hope you go check them out, and I hope you go enjoy them, and I hope you go learn a lot. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video and getting us all a little bit more knowledgeable. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I am very, very much looking forward to seeing you very soon.